Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be making some fun patriotic tier tray DIYs. Today I was sitting outside editing and it's just so beautiful. I couldn't bring myself to go inside to film this intro or to do the voiceover, so hopefully you don't mind the birds chirping in the background, but let's get started with today's projects. This first DIY we are going to start with is using a wood hanging decor piece from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. This is not in the seasonal patriotic 4th of July section, it's just in their everyday stuff, but I did pick it up with this in mind. We're going to take the hanging twine off and use some lightweight spackling to fill in the hole. Now this is a pretty thick solid piece, so I'm going to put kind of push that spackling in on both sides just to make it easier to fill it all the way through. And then you just want to let that dry and then sand it down to smooth it out, and you'll never know that there was a hole there to begin with. I don't know what else I would use this piece for, but if you have any ideas, leave them down in the comments. If you would leave the hanging piece on and where you would hang it. Anyways, we're going to give this a coat of a white paint. We're using white Waverly chalk paint. I'm going to do the edges and then one side with the white paint, I think. No. Yes, that's what I'm doing. We're going to do the sides and then one of the large sides. Sides, front. We're going to do the front. We'll call it the front and the sides with the white paint. The edges on these pieces are kind of rough, but you can sand them down if you want. I would sand them down a little bit afterwards, but I do one coat I think on the edge and then maybe two on the front here. I just use my heat gun to speed up the drying process, or you can use a hairdryer. I used that for a long time until my hairdryer quit on me. Once that's dry, we are going to tape off some stripes. Now I'm using, I don't know what it's called from Dollar Tree, but it's pretty much washi tape, and I'm using two of them. My head keeps popping in and making it out of focus. 2 pieces worth for each stripe. So you can kind of see I'm using it to measure it, making more stripes. And then we're going to paint this. I like to use the crimson in Waverly for my red, and we're going to give this 2 coats of paint. I'm trying to be careful and not get paint on the edges or have any bleed through. You'll see I end up with a little bit really where the 2 pieces of tape meet. More so, it wasn't butted up quite enough, but we make it all blend in. You'll never even know. And then the other side of this, I'm going to just paint that in the solid red. And once again, I did 2 coats of that just to get the coverage that I wanted. You can, of course, do different color choices and patterns and colors and paints. I think I said colors twice, but you can use whatever you want. Now, before the paint is fully dry, I'm going to pull off the washi tape, and you can see there in that top one there's a little thin line. I don't think I had them quite close enough together, so I tried going over it with some white paint, and I think eventually that would have worked, but it would have taken a couple coats because the red is pretty powerful. So then I decided, well, I wanted to distress this anyway, so I tried to sand that down. I did sand down the edges anywhere where the red came over, and that took care of that. And I tried to sand down the white stripes where the red was, like where the little bit of thin red came through, and it helped, but it didn't totally hide it, but it's okay because I wasn't done in my distressing process. So we're going to wipe off all of the dust and stuff from sanding it, and then I'm going to use Antique Wax by Waverly and just try to do a dry brush across that. And I really love I love a lot of stuff old looking and rustic, but I love the patriotic stuff. It just looks more, I don't know, a little more vintage and whatever. So we put that on the edges and the front, and then I have these gold rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree. Now, gold may not feel super rustic to you, but we're going to make it blend in and work. These ones actually transferred pretty easily. I've used other, like the gold letters for rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree, do not transfer easily. But this actually went on pretty good. So I will show you one little thing though that you don't want to do that I do. So I'm just using the back end of a tool to scrape this on. You could really almost use your finger for these ones. This one transferred super easily. And I love this little transfer sheet because there's lots of fun little patriotic things on it. So normally when you pull off your transfer sheet, you take the top and burnish it in, and as you can see, it took off some of the lettering. I was like, seriously? Anyways, I added on a firework as well because I wanted to fill that out a little bit more. And normally the burnishing with the top sheet does not take it off, but this gold is a totally different material. But like I said, we're going for some rustic here. So I'm going to go over this with the antique wax. Again, I wanted to kind of dull down the gold a little bit. I didn't want it to be quite as shiny. So we are just going to go over the whole thing here and also kind of help seal it in a little bit. And then, I know it looks like we're on to another project, but we're working on the other side of that big star. And I have these little wood star pieces. They're from Hobby Lobby. I got them in a pack. And I painted it with Ocean by Waverly. And then I went in with some antique wax and I brushed that on and wiped it off. And it just kind of made it look like a much more dulled down blue. And then we're going to just hot glue that to the striped side. So I wanted this to kind of be, you know, two-sided, no matter where you see it, if you use this on a tiered tray or whatever. So I got that in place. I'm just using my little tool to scrape out some hot glue that had leaked before it was fully dry, and you cleaned it up and you couldn't even tell. And I love how this one came out. It's simple, and I love that rub-on transfer. And because I rusticated it up, that's not a word, I made it rustic, it really doesn't matter that some of the letters came off the transfer. Okay, moving on. One of those wood pellets from the Dollar Tree and some antique wax and a baby wipe. We're going to wipe this on, wipe it off. I did go in with a small paintbrush to try to get all of the little places as well. And I shoved the baby wipe down in the different grooves as well. I just wanted to get all of the surfaces covered in the antique wax so that it was fully covered. You want it all covered so that it's fully covered. Okay. If you are enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out so much. It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying it and makes them think, maybe someone else will like it too. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up. And now I'm going in with some little stencils. These are from the Dollar Tree. They're not amazing, but they worked really good. They are reusable, but they're a little bit fragile, and I have ripped one before. But I just put July on the side here, or it looks like I'm doing it on the front. It's actually going to be the side. And I'm using a small little paintbrush to stencil this on. And these are a self-adhesive stencil. So yeah, I would like to show you different ways to do things because I don't have a Cricut myself, and I know a lot of you don't. So you can still do things even if you don't have the fancy tools. I'm just wiping them off right away with a baby wipe and then putting them back on their sheet, and I can reuse them again in the future. So I just put down July, and then for the other part, I'm using these. They're like a paper cardboard stencil from Walmart. They have letters and numbers. I've used them many, many times. They are cardboard, but they are reusable. Just be gentle with them because they obviously can get more easily torn once they're wet. But I taped that down and we're putting a 4 on. Now, I will say, this was my plan, my intention. I knew that it would be over the slats, but I kind of wish I'd moved the 4 over just a little bit. But overall, I really like this, and it's kind of just a simple fill-in piece for a tier tray. For this next one, I have this block sign. This was from Hobby Lobby. I picked it up on clearance for 29 cents. I love doing that because I'm just going to make it over anyway. So it was a little bit dinged up and obviously out of season. I'm using my heat gun to help get those stickers off. This made them come off super easy. I did try them prior to that and it felt like it was going to leave residue. So the heat gun worked well, scraping off all of our stickers. And then I thought maybe this heart was glued on, so I was heating it up to try to get it off. And this was made a little bit better and actually had like 2 little nails in there. But I was able to pop it off, and you can see there's little, well, maybe you can't see, but there's little nails in there. So I'm just using some, well, those are wire cutters, not pliers, but pulling out the nails. And we're going to sand this whole thing down, smooth out the rough edges. You can see it's kind of dinged up, and I just wanted to kind of smooth it down. And I wiped it off with a baby wipe, and then I did use my heat gun to dry it because I didn't want to wait for it to dry, and since I used the baby wipe, it was wet. Anyway, then we're going to give this baby a couple coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color white. I'm going to do all of the edges and the front and back, and it did take a couple of coats to fully cover up the pink. Maybe not if I had done a thicker coat, but I feel like I always get nervous doing thicker coats that it's going to be like gloppy on the edges and stuff. Is gloppy an actual word? I don't know. But we're going to give this a couple of coats, and once again I will use my heat gun to help dry it in between just to speed up the process, but of course you don't have to do that. If you are new here, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. You just, hit the subscribe button, make sure you turn on the notification bell that'll pop up after you subscribe, and that makes sure that you get notified every time I post a new video. I enjoy sharing easy, budget-friendly DIYs here on my channel. I do a lot of Dollar Tree items, but most importantly, I do a lot of budget-friendly DIYs. Okay, so we're going to go in with this gray. I just picked a light gray out of my paint supplies, and I will show you why. We're doing a dry brush of that across here just to give some light streaks, and this is going to help our next step blend in. I've shown you guys plenty of DIYs using window clings, and we're doing that again today. I love using window clings in DIYs, but sometimes they kind of stand out a little bit. You can see the background here had this like gray paneling, and if you look really carefully, you could kind of see it on that clear edge as well. And so by making the background similar, it's going to make it blend in more and not just look like I stuck a sticker more or less on here. So it's a window cling, not a sticker. And because this is a piece of wood, it wasn't going to stick on its own. So I'm placing a thin layer of Mod Podge on here. And you have a moment to move it around because it is wet. And then I just kind of smooth it out, get out any air bubbles. We're going to go ahead and do the other side. I don't set it down because it wasn't fully dry. But before I did my top coat, I wanted to let it set a little bit. As it sets, it gets sticky, and then the piece won't keep moving around. Initially, if you do the bottom coat of Mod Podge and the top coat right afterwards, it might still move around because it's still wet. And then I'm just going to do a top coat on both sides, and I will also do this around all of the edges just so everything kind of has a similar finish. I am using the matte finished Mod Podge just because that's what I have and that's what I generally prefer, but there's lots of different types of Mod Podge. If you are not aware of that, check them out. I mean, there's dishwasher safe ones and there's all the things. So once again, another simple little piece to put on my tiered tray. I like the double-sided aspect of it. And a cute little graphic using a window cling. No Cricut or Chocolate needed. Not that there's anything wrong with those things. I just don't have them. So for this next one, I have this wood piece from Dollar Tree. Once again, edges are kind of rough. You can sand it down if you want. We're going to sand it down after we paint it. We're going to use Waverly chalk paint in white, and we're going to paint the edges. We're going to paint the front and the back. And I do 2 coats of white. I didn't want all that wood grain coming through, but you guys can do however you want, depending on the look you want. Once that is dry, what are we doing here? I can't remember. Oh, we're going to use our heat gun. All right. Hopefully the sound is okay with me being outside and the birds and the fan and all that, but I was just sitting out here editing and didn't feel like going inside because it's so gorgeous. Okay, once the paint is on and dry, we're going to smooth out the edges because we are going to put something around the edges, and then I just kind of sanded roughly over the whole thing to just, I didn't mind if there was some little nicks and whatever. I just wanted to rough it up a little bit. So this is more of that, what I call washi tape from Dollar Tree. And I was going to just use stencils around the outside. But then I saw this blue tape with the stars. And I was like, this is cute. So if you don't have this, you could just use like a star stencil, which is what I was going to do. But we are just going to take this and wrap it around. And it's a tape. It sticks just fine. And I'm going to do 2 stripes of it. I'm going to do one on the top, one on the bottom. And I just was trying to keep it even. I didn't do it right up against the edge, so I was just trying to make sure it was even. It tears really easily. I trimmed it up just to have a nice, neat little spot where it meets, and you can't even hardly tell where the tape starts and stops. So, like I said, yeah, we're going to do that all the way around. But you could also do like a scrapbook paper or tissue paper around the edge. That would be really cute as well. Or you could just paint the edge a different color. We're making a tiny riser. I don't think I told you that. So now we're going to go, once again, antique wax, make it a little rustic, and I wanted to do that on the top. I'm doing the top, the bottom, and the edges. Sorry that's not totally in frame, but I didn't want the blue to be so bright. So now I have this little pedestal. This is from Hobby Lobby. I picked this up on clearance last year for maybe 20 cents, something like that. I bought a few of them. It was a little chipped, no big deal. I wanted to dull down the shininess and glossiness of it, so I used some antique wax. I wasn't sure how well that would work and if it would like just rub off. So I let that dry for a little bit, and then I went in with some Mod Podge just to seal that in. And the Mod Podge also with the matte finish will help tone down the glossiness. I left the top as is because you won't be seeing it, and I didn't want it to get in the way of the glue. Now I'm just using hot glue, but feel free to use a stronger glue as well, like some E6000 or super glue gel, but I was just going for quick. So this little lantern also is from Hobby Lobby, last year clearance. I really think I got it for under $1, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. So I was going to try to see, this is to hold a tea light, and at first I thought maybe I can pry this off, but you know, I have to remember when I'm DIYing or making over Hobby Lobby items, they don't typically come apart as easily as Dollar Tree items because they're made a little bit better. So I use my heat gun, which you got to be careful doing on metal, thinking I could loosen up some glue or adhesive. In the end, I was like, all right, forget it. We're leaving it in there. This is some vase filler from Hobby Lobby that I picked up last year, so I got it super cheap, and a couple more of those wood stars that I had painted on both sides. And we're just going to, which by the way, those stars literally just fit in there. I should have checked that before I painted them, but thankfully it all worked out. And I'm just going to put the stars and the vase filler in the lantern just to kind of fill it up. I didn't want to do a candle. I just wanted to do something kind of different. And I thought this was really cute. And I here am just displaying it on top of the riser. And I love all of the fun little patriotic things. If you like this video, once again, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know what your favorite DIY was down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, because a lot of my viewers are not subscribed. So please subscribe. That would be great. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. See you next time.